The early morning mist hung low over the Normandy countryside, casting a ghostly veil over the landscape. Trees stood like silent sentinels, their branches swaying gently in the breeze, while the occasional chirp of a bird broke the eerie silence. As an SS soldier stationed in a small village near Caen, I stood at the edge of a dense forest, scanning the horizon for any signs of the advancing Allied forces. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and the faint odor of gunpowder, remnants of the battles that had raged just days before. The invasion, now known as D-Day, had caught us off guard, and the relentless push of the Allies was a constant reminder of the precariousness of our position. Each day felt like a precarious balance between survival and the looming threat of defeat. The camaraderie we once shared had turned into a tense silence, each of us lost in our own thoughts, grappling with the reality of our situation. Our orders were clear: hold the line at all costs. The SS, renowned for its discipline and ruthlessness, was tasked with repelling the invaders and protecting the Third Reich's Western Front. But as the days turned into weeks, the reality of our situation became increasingly dire. The Allies were well equipped, well trained, and determined. Their relentless bombardments and coordinated assaults left us with little time to regroup or reinforce our positions. The constant barrage of artillery fire and the drone of enemy aircraft overhead created an atmosphere of perpetual tension and fear. The once serene village had transformed into a war zone, and the idyllic countryside now bore the scars of relentless conflict. Every step we took, every movement we made, was haunted by the specter of an imminent attack. First contact. Our first major engagement came under the cover of darkness. The night was eerily quiet, save for the distant rumble of artillery and the occasional flare lighting up the sky. We had dug in, creating makeshift fortifications among the hedgerows and ruins of the village. As an experienced SS soldier, I had seen my share of battles, but there was something different about this one. The determination of the Allies was palpable, and their superior numbers and equipment added to the sense of impending doom. The tension among the men was thick, each of us silently grappling with our own fears and doubts. The darkness seemed to amplify every sound, every rustle of leaves, heightening our senses and keeping us on edge. Just before dawn, the silence was shattered by the thunderous roar of artillery. The ground trembled as shells exploded around us, sending plumes of dirt and debris into the air. The Allies had launched a full-scale assault. We scrambled to our positions, the adrenaline surging through our veins as we prepared to meet the enemy. I manned my machine gun, my fingers trembling slightly as I loaded the ammunition belt. The first wave of infantry emerged from the tree line, their silhouettes illuminated by the fiery explosions. My orders were clear: hold the line at all costs. The fear in my chest was palpable, but so was the fierce determination to fight for survival. I squeezed the trigger, the gun vibrating violently as it spat out bullets. The enemy soldiers fell, but more kept coming, their resolve unbroken. The battle raged on, a cacophony of gunfire, explosions, and the desperate cries of the wounded. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning fuel. Despite our efforts, the Allies continued to advance, their relentless push forcing us to retreat further into the village. Each step back felt like a blow to our pride and our resolve. The narrow streets and alleyways became the backdrop for fierce close-quarters combat, the once familiar village now a deadly labyrinth. The sense of camaraderie was replaced by a grim determination to survive, each of us fighting not just for victory, but for our very lives. The battle for the village. The battle for the village was fierce and brutal. We fought street by street, house by house, determined to hold our ground. The once picturesque village was reduced to rubble, its buildings shattered and its streets littered with the bodies of the fallen. The sounds of battle echoed through the narrow alleys, a constant reminder of the life and death struggle we were engaged in. As an SS soldier, I had been trained to fight without mercy, but the sheer intensity of the conflict tested even the most hardened among us. The psychological toll was immense, the constant barrage of noise and violence eroding our mental fortitude. Each fallen comrade was a stark reminder of our own mortality, their sacrifices etching deep scars into our collective psyche. One afternoon, as I took cover behind a crumbling wall, I spotted a group of Allied soldiers advancing towards our position. Their movements were coordinated and precise, a testament to their training and discipline. I aimed my rifle and fired, taking down the lead soldier. His comrades returned fire, and I ducked as bullets whizzed past me, chipping away at the wall. The exchange of gunfire was relentless, each side determined to gain the upper hand. My heart pounded in my chest, the adrenaline fueling my actions. The noise was deafening, the air filled with the acrid smell of gunpowder and the cries of the wounded and dying. Each breath I took was a struggle, my lungs burning from the exertion and the smoke that hung heavy in the air. The battle raged on, and the village became a deadly maze of ambushes and close-quarters combat. The fighting was fierce, each side suffering heavy casualties. My comrades fell around me, their cries of pain a haunting reminder of the brutality of war. Despite our efforts, the Allied forces continued to press forward, their determination unwavering. The streets ran red with blood, and the once familiar landscape was now a nightmarish battlefield. The toll on our spirits was immense, the relentless pressure and constant threat of death weighing heavily on our minds. Each day was a struggle to maintain our resolve, to find the strength to keep fighting in the face of overwhelming odds. A moment of reflection. Amidst the chaos, there were brief moments of respite that allowed me to reflect on the path that had led me here. As an SS soldier, I had been indoctrinated with the belief in our cause and the superiority of our mission. But the harsh realities of war had begun to erode that certainty. The faces of the enemy, so human and determined, challenged the black and white narratives I had been taught. The sight of a young Allied soldier, barely more than a boy, lying lifeless in the street, struck a chord within me. He could have been a friend, a brother, if circumstances had been different. These fleeting moments of introspection were a stark contrast to the constant chaos, a reminder of the humanity that existed on both sides of the conflict. One evening, as I sat in the ruins of a once cozy cottage, I found a photograph among the rubble. It showed a family smiling parents with their 2 young children. It was a stark reminder of the lives disrupted and destroyed by the war. I wondered about my own family back in Germany, the people I fought for, and the world we were trying to create. The war had taken its toll on all of us, and the line between right and wrong became increasingly blurred. The photograph haunted me, a symbol of the innocence lost and the lives forever changed by the conflict. It was a sobering reminder that, despite our training and indoctrination, we were all human, each with our own hopes, dreams, and fears. The final stand. As the battle for Normandy continued, it became clear that we were fighting a losing battle. The Allied forces, bolstered by their sheer numbers and unyielding resolve, were pushing us back towards Paris. The once confident SS divisions were now fragmented and demoralized, our numbers dwindling with each passing day. The weight of our losses was a constant burden, each fallen comrade a reminder of the grim reality we faced. The relentless pressure from the Allies left us with little time to mourn, each moment of sorrow quickly replaced by the need to survive the next assault. In one final act of defiance, we prepared for a last stand in a small village on the outskirts of Cayenne. The remnants of our unit, battered and exhausted, dug in and fortified our positions. The atmosphere was tense, each of us silently aware that this could be our last battle. The sense of impending doom hung heavy in the air, and the camaraderie among the soldiers was tempered by the harsh reality of our situation. We knew that the chances of survival were slim, but the determination to fight to the end burned within us. The village, once a place of refuge, had become our final battleground, the site of our last desperate stand. As the sun set, casting an eerie orange glow over the battlefield, the Allies launched their final assault. The ground shook with the force of their artillery, and the sky was lit up by the flashes of explosions. We fought with a desperation born of survival, each of us determined to hold our ground, despite knowing the odds were stacked against us. The battle was fierce and unforgiving, the sounds of gunfire and explosions filling the air. My comrades fell around me, their cries of pain a stark reminder of the cost of war. Despite our efforts, the Allied forces continued to advance, their determination unbroken. The village, once a place of refuge, had become our final battleground, the site of our last desperate stand. A humbling defeat. As the battle reached its climax, it became clear that we could not hold out any longer. The Allied forces overwhelmed us, their superior numbers and relentless push breaking our lines. I was captured, along with the few remaining survivors.